Right. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Morning, Ger. How are you?
I just want to pick up on that point there that Kieran Donny was making about, loads of people are saying, sport, you guys are going to have to carry the can the same way everybody else is. But having an outlet, having these games, it actually matters a lot to people.
Yeah, it does. I think obviously there's a certain level of concern there about the safety and the spread of COVID, and but sport gives people a lift at the weekends. People look forward to it. I know that a lot of the underage games have stopped, but elite sport is the last kind of thing we can watch at the weekend. So hopefully it goes ahead. I think there's been a lot of issues and problems with celebrating and stuff like Kieran Donaghy says there, and I think we need to learn from that going forward, and hopefully in the next little while that we'll get some solutions to COVID. There's a lot of positive stuff about vaccines and treatments and stuff, and hopefully we'll see some of that by the end of November. But if we can continue sport, I think we should as best we can. And I was delighted to see the Alliance League back at the weekend and see games and matches. But obviously you've got to have strict protocols around those games and after those games and stuff like that. And rugby is the same.
Yeah, and we're on the verge of the Six Nations coming back, and we're still a little bit uncertain about what the rules are actually going to say. So I think it's pretty clear that there will be a derogation for elite sports, and I've no doubt that the IRFU and the Six Nations are going to get those games away. We'll talk a bit about those in just a minute. A quick look back on the Champions Cup. It is one of those stories where it is the super rich versus the team who seems to have done things properly and slowly built and slowly built and slowly built. And I don't know how you felt. Like, were you romantically hoping that Exeter would win, or was it enough that you knew more of the players who were actually playing for Racing? Who were you up for in the end?
I wanted Racing to win because of Mike Prendergast. He's a very, very close friend, and Simon Zebo and Donncha Ryan. I think I played with Donncha. He won a Heineken Cup with us in 2008, and I played with him for a number of years. Played with Simon Zebo for a short period of time at the end of my career, start of his Munster career. But you could have nothing but admiration for what Rob Baxter has done at Exeter, and I see some similarities maybe from maybe my time at Munster with Exeter, their story and backs to the walls, a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. I've had to do it the hard way, I suppose. They're very, very focused on homegrown players, and that's something that's very important for them. They're not full of superstars. I think probably if you look at the 06 team with Munster, that was probably the case. We certainly had Dougie Howlett and Ruat Tupoki, Maffey in the 08 team, but we still had a homegrown pack of forwards who played Toulouse in that 08 final. So Exeter, 10 years ago, they came into the league, and I just think it's remarkable what they've done. The hard work, the dedication, the honesty, and he's signed players who epitomise that ethic, that work ethic scenario, and being a team player. And he's a very, very likeable fellow, Rob Baxter. So it's a remarkable story what they've done to be European champions. I don't think there's an asterisk around them winning it, because they've won 8 games, drawn 1 out of 9 to get to the final and to win it. So I think they rode their luck a little bit in the second half, and Racing are definitely have probably more potential to hurt opposition, and they've more probably high-profile players. But in fairness to Racing, they've changed their tact a little bit in the last couple of seasons, and they're bringing a lot of young players through from their academy as well. So it was a brilliant final, fantastic spectacle to watch. And in the end, that bit of doggedness and resilience and togetherness won the game for Exeter.
Zebo played pretty well.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He was brilliant under the high ball. The 2 tries, I think the first one, lands in his lap, and for a winger or full back, they're most of them will score that. So, but it's the second try is brilliant. He runs in that outside line, takes the tackle of Stuart Hogg, has enough strength and power to wriggle and twist and turn and get over the line. And you saw his reaction from both tries. I think he was really up for it and looked devastated after the game. There's a lot of people tweeted and stuff on social media, why did Racing take him off? I kind of had that impression myself, but I spoke to Mike Prendergast on Saturday night, and Zebo actually came off himself, both his calves cramped up, so it wasn't a decision by the Racing coaches to take him off. He was fantastic, and he looks lean. He looks fit, sharp, good under the high ball, and had a brilliant performance.
Oh, what we miss, eh?
Yeah, I knew you were going to talk about this, and should he be back in the Ireland squad? Based on the level of performance, he'd be starting at full-back for Ireland on Saturday and against France the following week, this performance. But look, it's down to the unwritten law or rule by the IRFU not to pick players overseas.
I understand that the rule exists, and I know exactly why the rationale for the rule to exist came into being in the first place, and it's obviously worked very well from an Ireland perspective up to this point. You would say that life has changed and that there is a global pandemic on, and we're currently reviewing our situation, and we have a gap at second row and we have a gap at full back, and I mean,
there's two fellas at Racing ready and willing and able to go. Yeah, look, I suppose it may change. It may change going forward, and the coronavirus may change that. I think the whole approach. I think I've said this a few weeks ago. The thought process and the review after the World Cup, all that kind of stuff came up, and it's something that could be looked at. But as I've said all along, it opens the door for a potential for players to leave, and that's not a good scenario. But look, who knows? It may change. Ian Whitten and Gareth Steenson are at Exeter. Gareth Steenson barely played for. I don't think he played for Ulster. Left and went to Exeter 10 years ago, and has just been incredible for them. Fantastic player. And Ian Whitten, he's an Irish international. We can't forget that at 12. He was brilliant on Saturday as well for them. So there was 5 Irish guys involved, and two were very happy that they've won a European Cup, and I think that was a really special win for Exeter, and they deserve it. But yeah, Zebo and Donnacha Ryan, you could easily slot them into the Irish squad for the next couple of weeks, but it's not going to happen, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah, I would totally use the cover of, oh, no, we're not changing the rules. There's just a massive, you might have seen the news, lads, there's a massive crisis on, and we're not changing the rules for the future, we're just changing the rules for now, for the next 6 weeks. And then isn't Donnacha Ryan retiring at the end of the year anyway? So you could practically say, well, look, it's the end of his career, so we're just using him because we think it is. And there's a chance that Zebo might come back to Ireland next year anyway, right?
Yeah, there is a chance. But again, I wouldn't do it, Ger. I know from the playing point of view and the potential and the quality of these players, they would add value. But, Quinn Rue, Alton Delan, Tadhg Byrne, they're the guys who want to start next Saturday with James Ryan in the second row. I think if you have any more injuries in that area, you might have to go, Jesus, let's bring Donnacha Ryan back and put him on the bench, or even in Paris, bring him over for that week if you had injuries next weekend.
You wouldn't even have to pay for the flight.
Yeah, well, you'd have to bring him to Ireland first, you see, and train with the squad. I think if Hugo Keane and Shane Daly, what do you say to them if you bring Zeebs back? They might be poached by a team in the next year or two, and they could say, well, I'm an Irish international now, and I played throughout the end of the Six Nations or the Nations Cup, but I'm going to go to France and I'm still going to be picked. So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Some people think the rule shouldn't be there. I think it should be there.
The only thing is that they don't. The rule is kind of made up because they let Johnny Sexton play, and that's like, you just make up the rules whenever you want to. And they didn't apply to Johnny Sexton.
I think it changed. To be fair, Ger, it changed after that, and I think Joe was quite strict in that. And obviously, that's not Joe's sole decision. That's an IRFU decision as well. So, I think they kind of rubber stamped that interpretation more strongly after the Johnny Sexton thing. So, look, it did happen with Sexton where he was being picked, but I think they looked at it at that stage and said, look, we can't go down this road because some of our top players will be gone, and then that'll affect the provinces, which do help. Having all the players here makes a massive difference. And but look, we look at the World Cup last year, and I was, for someone who was pretty strict and I'm still fairly strict in it, of not picking players overseas. Everything was put on the table, and I think it needs to be looked at and reviewed. And I'd have no problem if this decision came out. I wouldn't be jumping up and down saying it's a disgrace and it shouldn't happen. I think they might make allowances for it or come up with something where they can pick guys in certain circumstances. I think that would probably be the best way to go to start it off.
Just very quickly before we wrap, Alan, Six Nations is back this weekend, as Ger mentioned. Give us a quick reminder of what is the biggest worry for Ireland going into this, because the last game obviously was the hammering against England.
The biggest worry is not getting a performance on Saturday, which is a challenge because they haven't played together in so long. I think they need to get a bit of confidence and a little bit of momentum on Saturday against Italy, and at least if they have a spring in their step going to Paris, they won't be expected to go and win a championship. They probably won't be expected to beat France. So maybe that'll suit them, that they'll be backs to the wall stuff, and that they won't have much preparation. That's the concern. So I think we can't just look for the next 2 weeks at a kind of dogged, kind of limited game plan. I think we need to be expansive and go for it a little bit and try and move the ball around a little bit. And if that happens, then well, look, if they don't win in Paris, if they beat Italy on Saturday and they don't win in Paris, it's not the end of the world, because it's a tough place to go and win anyway. So that's probably my biggest concern, is just getting a performance to start off on Saturday. It'll be hard to just go to Paris and turn it on if they don't get a little bit of momentum next Saturday against Italy.
We obviously know Ryan Baird is out. Who do you expect to be the second row partner for the nailed on number one Ryan that we have at the moment?
Well, if you're picking Italy and you've played a lot of games to this point, I'd start Ty Byrne. But then you're going to Paris and you're going to play, Willems, and he's just a monster of a second row and just a big, massive pack. And I think then I'm kind of thinking Quinn Roux and bringing Ty Byrne off the bench. Ultan Dillane is someone who I think is very unlucky in the last year or two. I think he's so dynamic and abrasive. But for me, I think maybe they'll go and move the ball around a bit and try and move it away from the French pack the week after. And if that's the case, it's Ty Byrne. And if not, I think maybe start with Quinn Roux against. But I don't think you can pick a team for Italy and then make changes. We need to pick a team on Saturday that's probably going to start against France the week after. And it's not going to be perfect. Ireland are not going to get a perfect performance on Saturday, but they get some momentum, a little bit of momentum going forward, that they feel that they've come together a bit, and that you're never going to get a perfect performance. And it'd probably be, playing against the Italians can be very frustrating at times, but it's probably Quinn Roux that starts.
Yeah. You sound very worried about how Ireland are going to do in these two games, actually. Just kind of.
Well, do you know what? If I was a player myself, Ger, I think, what would I want? I would want to actually throw caution to the wind, because, do you know what? 2 performances in the next 2 weeks of pats in the back saying, God, that was, the effort was great and the work rate was good. And if this happened and if that happened, I just think we need to play a bit of rugby. Throw the ball around a little bit and really go for this. And if you make mistakes and you give in an intercept or lose a ball in contact, going for an offload, I'm probably gone too far saying that, because it needs to come back a step or two. You need to try and play cup rugby to win 2 games. It's like a semi-final final. So, but I just would love to see a bit of a real expansive approach, not in our own 22, but just when we get into the opposition half, to really kind of be brave and throw the ball around a little bit. And it'd be a big change maybe from the way we've played, but I think if you get that in 2 weeks and we lose against France in Paris, throwing the ball around and really having a go and playing with pace and intensity, it would be brilliant to see. But it's difficult. You're missing Furlong, you're missing Earls, you're missing Kilcoyne, you're missing Jordan Larmour. So you're missing a lot of experienced players who've been involved. But it's an opportunity for other guys maybe to step up. So look, we'll see what happens.
All right, Alan, good stuff. We'll have you back on Friday when hopefully we know the team by that stage for the Italy game, and obviously whatever else news is coming out from the Ireland camp later on in the week. It's 9:06 here this morning on OTB AM.